Hello, internets. I'm Joe.
I'm Eric.
Is Delaware seriously the state that has the most furries per capita?
Oh.
my
Anyway,
gosh.
you're listening to Just Cool Enough, the only show where if your co-hosts go missing, you just find someone else with the same first name.
Yeah, first names. Exactly. So we have Eric here, and then we also have Eichel, replacing Ike for the week. I figured, I'm such. I told everybody that, oh, don't worry, I'll do a solo show. It'll be great. And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, I can't do a solo show. That's crazy. That's crazy talk.
I can only talk to myself for an hour when there's nobody going to see it.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you to my friends over at the Top Dead Centered podcast for coming off. We have
And
we have Eric here. Eric,
Hey.
say something to the listeners so they know things about you.
one time I cut my ear open and it hurt a lot.
Ouch! All right. Some say his eyeballs are in the back of his head. And then we have Eichel, or Michael, here to replace Ike. Ike, tell us about yourself. I mean, Michael, oh, God.
What the hell's your name?
I live in Florida. Make it that what you will.
That's basically like Providence, Rhode Island. See, guys, I'm working here. I'm trying to keep the show running, Well,
Oh,
my
it's running all right.
other show host abandoned me to go on vacation or whatever. Ike's like, oh, man, I got to go to New York and go spend time in Central Park. And then
That's
Eric tells me, oh, man, guys, I got to go to Comic-Con because I'm such a cool guy with the Nerdist. And I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I'll do the show with my new host friends with the same name.
I mean, I lived in New York City and I got out of there as fast as I could.
I didn't know you lived in New York.
Yeah, I lived in the very southern tip of Brooklyn. I moved in middle of January, 2 or 3 years ago, and I left by the end of February because it was too cold, too angry, too smelly, too loud, and I just really hated it. Hated every single thing about it. So
And everybody says New York's like this dream city, right? So
they don't live there.
yeah. So where did you live before New York?
In Jersey,
Oh, okay.
and I'm back in the same house now. So
Nice. Well, did you want to tell us about Florida, Michael?
About Florida. Well, needless to say, it's hot.
Good start. That's a really
Humid.
good start. This is solid. This is solid stuff, guys. So anyway, we're gonna be talking about the best driving games ever on this week's show.
Ever.
absolutely ever.
The best driving games ever. But first, we are going to talk about Alpha Geek Radio. Alpha Geek Media is providing us with a live stream, and they do such a good job. Go check out their service, because what they do is they stream to thousands of different devices all at once, and we're on there along with a nice show called Daily Tech News Show by Tom Merritt. That's where I get my tech news. The guys are awesome over there. Todd at Alpha Geek has set up our live chat room, and you could join that by going to justcoolenough.com/live, and you can participate just like Brady and Blazers. And who are these other guys in there? Double Clutch Eric and Boosted Sneeze. Weird.
My girlfriend was supposed to show up too, and she's missing.
Is she from a different? We wouldn't know her because she's from a different high school. Like she actually feel.
She actually did go to a different high school than I did.
See, yeah, she's from Canada. You guys wouldn't know her. So guys,
Send her a quick angry message on the Facebook there.
no,
Let's
don't
get
be
that.
angry 'cause she's not.
Hey! And she literally appears at that moment.
Oh my gosh! See, now you're in trouble. That's bad.
I'm not in trouble.
Abort. So, how was your week, Eric?
My week was fantastic. So, one of the things, obviously, like everybody else in the world, the other 8.5, 15 million people in the world, I've been playing Pokemon Go. And I walked into the woods in chase of a Geodude yesterday and got a thorn from a thorn bush right in my ear canal, which that hurt a bit. But that healed up real quick and then was whatever. So
What do you have like what are you like Wolverine? You're just your
Absolutely.
nail just
I'm magical. I can just
you
sit there, stick my finger on it. It healed up. It was fine. So I have an earwax issue, and I have to take ear drops every day to help
okay.
out. And
Wait, did the plant give you the ear
no,
problems, or
no,
was
this
this
has been
a
going on.
free?
This
Okay,
has been
okay.
going on for like 20 years
I
now.
was like, oh my god, this plant must have been terrible.
So I take these eardrops, and I'm down in the living room. My mother's there, and I'm like, after they're sitting in for a while, I stick a napkin in there, and I clean them out
Oh
and
god.
dry up the drops.
Oh
It's
god.
not as gross as it seems.
It sounds gross.
No, the gross part's coming.
Oh god. This is what I'm waiting
So
for.
I ball up the paper towel into like a little cone shape so I can get in there. And my mom's like, "Oh, never stick anything hard in the ear. Never stick anything hard in the ear." And it's like, "Mom, it's a napkin, not a nail gun. I'll be fine." And as I do the thing, it picks the scab off where the thorn hit, and it's
Oh.
just splurting blood out of my ear. I'm like, "Ah!" Ruined my Guns N' Roses shirt, which, whatever, Guns N'
Oh.
Roses shirt.
I mean, blood on it's kind of cool though, right?
Yeah,
Like
it'll
kind of
fit with the theme.
Yeah, see, it's
'Cause
part. It's yeah, it's canon.
last week I saw.
Is it a shirt you got at the concert?
Yeah, last week I went to the concert in Philly. What it was is I was on my way back to work. We ride a bus up to the camp before we pick the kids up because I'm working at a summer camp transporting the kids home, and we ride this bus up, and my old boss from the Dodge dealership I used to work at texted me. He goes, two important questions. One, what are you doing after work? And two, do you like Guns N' Roses? And I'm like, oh, I was planning on just going home, having dinner, probably going to bed early. And yeah, I enjoy Guns N' Roses. I've been to a Guns N' Roses concert before. They didn't play. I was there. Axl wasn't, but I was there. A riot happened. I got hit with a chair. It was pretty bad. Very traumatizing for a 10-year-old.
Oh, wow.
So he goes, "All that sounds stupid. Let's go to Philly and see Guns N' Roses." I'm like, I don't have concert ticket money on me right now, dude. Payday's tomorrow. And he goes, "Tickets are free. I just want them. Let's go. You drive. We'll split parking. I'll buy you a drink." All right. So I got my free Coca-Cola. Went to the concert. They actually showed up this time. Great time. Love it. Wonderful.
So you just got to go to a concert, and
Yeah.
and then a week later you get blood all over the shirt, which makes the shirt more badass, as we all know that, of course.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, so just say like you got like we're in the mosh pit at the concert or something
Right.
like that.
Did you get in a fight at a Guns N' Roses concert? Yeah, I was totally not chasing Pokemon.
I brought a rose to a gunfight. I wasn't chasing the Geodude into the forest.
Especially roses have thorns. This whole story comes together.
Though I could understand though, because Pokemon Go has been like changing my life a little bit. Like, it was windy, and I'm throwing a Pokeball, and I'm trying to compensate for the wind on my tablet, like throwing the Pokeball into the wind, trying to curve it, and then my brain thinks a little bit, and I realize, oh, okay, this is a fictional game on a tablet and is not affected by weather conditions. Afraid with rain. So
Flick it up too high, you gotta worry about the magic wind in the game that blows it around.
It's just ridiculous how just that little bit of AR that's going on is like, it is playing with my head. So, Eichel, what did you do this week?
Well, speaking of spurting blood in Florida,
so any given Tuesday.
Yeah, well, last night I'm driving over
on Tuesday
to my friend's house. We're gonna go out to dinner, and I'm driving past this one of many nursing homes in Florida, and this old guy is walking down the sidewalk and carrying groceries home, and he just trips and falls straight on his head while I'm just driving down the street. And of course, he just falls and trips and falls straight on his head. And he gets up and his face is all covered in blood. And I pull over and I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, dude, you got blood all over your face.
Are you okay?
No, I don't, man. No, I don't. I have an allergy problem. My cry
It's just a flesh wound.
So of course, so I had to stop, and I called 911, and like I had to run to one of the people's houses right next door and get like clean washcloths to put on the gash on his head and all
We
this
need
other stuff.
we need a tourniquet right now. It's like 20 cc's of morphine stat. Just calling it out.
Mike
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be that loud of a person. Like I could imagine being the person at the house, bing bong, oh, and just, can I help you? It's like, can I borrow some of your washcloths, preferably wet ones? There's a guy out here with a bloody face. Like I didn't do it.
That's like it kind of reminds me of the story of when my apartment was burning, and I ran through the apartment like a crazy guy, like the building's on fire, get the fuck out, we're all gonna die. And then my wife is just walking around like, hey, just knocking on doors like gently, like, hey, can you wake up? The building's gonna start, burning and engulfing itself. And
Janice, do you want to come outside?
yeah, that's
No, I'd really recommend it.
so
Or
she's like,
die in a fire.
Sarah's like, oh, Joe, don't freak out. I'm like, this is the perfect time to freak out. There's a fire. But yeah, so I tried to be a hero that day. It didn't work out. Speaking of hero stories, I actually have one. And it happened this week. So walking through, I'm over here in U of M, University of Michigan right now, and I'm walking through the main part of campus. And so you get guys playing music, girls playing music on guitars, and all kinds of great stuff. It's a really great place to be, but you also kind of get some unsavory figures once in a while, in the form of street bums and homeless people and things like that, as you do with any major city, right? So one of these performers, this girl, was in playing her music, and this is oblivious to me. My wife kind of racks my shoulder. Hey, Joe, look over there. That handshake is going on for way too long. I look over there. I'm like, oh, okay. Handshake's kind of. Oh wait, it is kind of going on for way too long. And the guy's like getting really close to this girl that was playing the guitar up until she got interrupted by a homeless guy that smells like whiskey and cigarettes and homeless and
Childhood.
and piss.
All right, now you've gone too far.
I was trying to throw that in there before you made your remark.
At first, it was warm and comforting, and then it just became.
So this guy is really shaking this girl's hand for far too long, and I bust in there and get in between them, and I go, "Oh, hi, Julie! Oh my gosh, how are you? I haven't seen you in so long." And then my brother comes up next to me, and my wife comes up next to me, and we kind of formed a wall between this guy and this girl who was performing, and I did like the best hover hug ever because I didn't want to be creepy and touch her, but I also wanted to kind of knock the guy out of the way some, so I kind of like pushed him out of the way, did a hover hug, which was level 10 hover hands. I executed
Level
perfectly.
10.
Level 10.
Any higher, you got to go to Photoshop.
I was like, if somebody was watching, they would be like, "Did this guy Photoshop real life? Is this like it's amazing?" So anyway, Julie was like, "Oh my gosh, it's you! I can't believe you! Thank you so much. Actually, I changed my name to Kat, and I've been performing music." And we kind of just like had this fake conversation for 30 seconds till the guy stupid away, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was really effed up. I can't believe that guy was doing that. She was like, yeah, it was really weird. Thank you so much. And went along with my day, and everything was cool. And I kind of felt nice that I was able to help somebody out. But then I kept thinking about it, right? I had an Eric moment in my head here, and I was really overanalyzing the situation. And I was like, what if I was the creepy guy? Like, I really invaded her personal space when I did the hover hug thing. And so, like, walking around, and I'm with my group of people, and I ask them, I'm like, guys, was that creepy what I did? Because I feel like I really invaded her personal space, but it was like for the greater good. And she seemed, everybody's like, shut up, Joe, you did fine, you did fine. Everybody, she was super excited and happy that you did that. Didn't you see her? She was scared, blah, 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 blah. But I still think that I freaked her out also. I think like I was just the lesser of two evils at the time, and it was like I wasn't the hero she wanted, but I was the hero that was available within earshot.
So you're Batman.
I was
Convenient
like,
Batman.
I was convenient. I was sweaty Batman essentially. That's my moniker. So that was my hero story. So I was like I felt like I kind of white knighted a little bit. and I don't know. What do you guys think? I tried to describe it in grave detail so you can make a judgment for yourself, but I guess you didn't see the girl, so.
You did the right thing.
Yeah, I was kind of grieving when I saved the girl's life, Brady says in the chat room.
Unless the other guy was just like her dad and hasn't seen her in a while and is very nearsighted, so he just has to get closer and closer. Like, all right, am I sure I'm shaking the hands of the right woman?
The dad's trying
You're
to
not
make...
my daughter. You're just trying to fight your way into my will.
The dad's trying to make amends after like not seeing her for 30 years or something, and then I just like bust in there and like shove him away, and it's just terrible. So that was... Yeah, for a minute I was a hero, and like people around me were like, "Oh, that was a quick move, good thinking." And I was like, "Yeah, it was," but I'm still thinking about it too much. I'm like, it wasn't. I wish I could see it in videotape, like replay, so I can make a judgment on my own. So yeah, that's how my week. That and Pokemon Go are the pretty much most interesting things that has been going on. Eichel, are you playing Pokemon Go?
I am not actually.
Is it beyond you? Are you just too busy, or you just it's too popular too quick?
No, I would say mostly too busy. Also, like I never got into it, and therefore I felt like even if I tried to get into it now, I would just be completely lost.
Well, you could just pretty much just ask anybody on the street, and then everybody will tell you the answer. Everybody's like super eager to. This is what I've noticed in the groups that congregate around the Pokestops. Everybody's very eager to talk, but nobody's talking. Everybody's just buried into their smartphone. So like I walk up and I'm like, do 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 do. Hey everybody, there's a Geodude over there in the forest, and they're like, wow. And then everybody starts talking, and it's all fun.
Don't go.
It's funny until someone loses an ear.
Something very similar happened to me though. Like the first day I actually went out playing it in public because I've basically just been walking around my neighborhood. But I went to my local park and I was just sitting there in my car next to one of the Pokestops refilling my Pokeballs, and I got up and I walked around. I just kind of glanced down at my phone. It wasn't even open. I was reading a Facebook message from the girlfriend, and this guy just rides by and he's got the hat and the backpack and he's on a bike, and he just goes, "There's a Jigglypuff in that parking lot over there," and like takes off, and I'm just like, thanks, and pulled the game up and went over and caught it. It was a weak one though, so it wasn't really worth the time. It was like, oh, level 13, thanks.
It was actually pretty. It was a CP13 Jigglypuff. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about Pokemon pretty much the whole show if we go down that road. So
but you could go through the back catalog starting with last week, like I am.
Yeah, Eric, how would people find our back catalog?
Well, I subscribe to you on iTunes and use the iTunes app on my iPhone, so I just went through and hit the download button on every single episode, and my phone got real hot and didn't work for 4 hours, but all 334 episodes
this is 339
were there.
now, so
it was 334 when I started. I'm now down to 163 unplayed.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
I have a lot of downtime at work.
Well, that's what you. I was reading your Facebook feed, and this is. I think you have a cool job driving the bus, and I mean, what kind of car person? We're all car people here, admittedly. I mean, driving a bus.
What's a car?
Yeah.
What's a car?
Automobiles. When you have downtime in the middle of your day, and that's like prime podcast time for you, right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it's basically, I have 5 hours off, so like, I'll stop, grab lunch, go to the park, walk around, listen to podcasts the entire time, come home, shower, go back to work. It's
that's kind of
enjoyable. I get a lot of time out, get a lot of steps in.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That sounds like some prime time to get steps and be out there. I don't know though. Like when you get a break in the middle of your day, does it also? Because I know when I had a job, I hope this isn't plant a seed in your head because this might suck. I always felt like it was kind of like a guillotine at the end of my day. It's like, oh god, I gotta go back to work. Oh god,
Well, It's lucky because it's short. I mean, I have to report back for the camp shuttle at 2:30, and I'm parked and leaving by 5 o'clock.
Okay, that's
So
pretty, that's
it's
good
not
stuff.
it's not too bad.
Well, also another story while I was out walking, there's these things called pedicabs, and these pedicabs are bikes with basically a rickshaw. So we have rickshaws that are going all around the campus here, but it's a bike, not a human pulling more humans. They're pulling. Never mind, just look it up or something. So these guys are riding around bikes with
It's a baby
seats.
carriage.
Yeah, it's like a baby carriage on the back of a bike. This is the worst description, but just figure it out. Google it. Use your noodle. I won't use mine, and I'll just keep talking. So anyway, I, I said this really awkward thing. I guess this is like the yin and yang of my interacting with other girls other than my wife story. So
Oh man.
oh god, it was so bad. So I'm out at like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm catching Pokemon in the park. This girl rides up to me on her bike that has a seat in the back that can carry like 3 people. It's like a couch in the back where you can carry people. And she goes, "Hey, do you wanna ride somewhere?" And I had my headphones on. I just kind of caught the tail end of it, and I looked. I'm like, "Oh, that bike is so cool!" I'm like, "I want to ride. I want to ride the bike. Can I ride? Can you want to ride me? You can I ride you?"
You want to ride?
Ride me.
Yeah, all this verbal diarrhea poured out, and I said it similar to that, where I basically I was like, "Can I ride you? You want to ride me?" Like basically, I was only trying to ask, "Can I drive the bike and you sit in the back?" Because I just want to, do the bike.
I want to get to where I'm going, but I also want to get exercise.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting steps." So very awkward exchange. And so she kind of laughed, and she's like, "Do you want to do this like as a job?" I was like, "I mean, I would if are there openings?" And she's like, "Hold on." And she called her boss, and then her boss like pulls up out of nowhere. He's like, "Hey, I'm Kevin." I'm like, "Hey, Kevin, how you doing?" And I was like, "Can I ride one of these?" He's like, "Nah, not unless you're trained first." I'm like, "It's a bike. Can I please?" Anyway, they offered me a job.
It's like, yeah, my mom took care of that when I was 6. Don't worry.
Right, yeah.
Qualified in this area.
Fully qualified. No, and you don't even need to balance. You just need to pedal because it's a
It
three-wheel.
does it for you. There's wheels. It's like the Harley trikes for the old guys who don't have the air control anymore.
It's a trike it's exactly like a Harley trike, but with a couch on the back so people can ride around. It's perfect.
No engine and just as fast.
Yeah, you're human just as fast. It's human powered. Anyway, so I got offered a job to do this, and I'm like, well, I already kind of have a job that I do, but I really would like to do this. And he's like, what if you just did it like 1 or 2 times a month, like on a Saturday? I'm like, that sounds kind of cool, actually. And I'm getting to exercise, and I'm seeing the city. Maybe I will do this. So not this week, but next week I have class with him where I roll around with him for a day and learn how to ride a bike. And I guess I'll make a couple bucks in tips. I don't know. I'm just doing it because I think it sounds fun.
I think this guy just gets off on having people ride him around.
I don't think it works that way. Like I guess maybe he just wants me to be close to him. But yeah.
No comments.
So. I doubt it. I'm just saying. But the other thing I was thinking, I was like, oh man, what if you have like bad gas and you're pulling somebody around? You gotta hold it. Like, what's that? Like horses don't hold it, and you're basically a horse at that point. So these are the kind of questions I expect.
Make sure you get the snack trough since you're a horse now. Put your oats in there and just
blinders on and a snack trough, and just like, go to the Burger King and just fill it with more mac and Cheetos fries. Ringing the bell, kring kring.
In the live chat room at justcoolenough.com/live, because I've heard the show enough times to know that's how it's said. Bean says that's not sweat on the back of your neck.
Well, I think this is the perfect time to transition into a quick ad.
Alyssa, this is not the Cameron episode of my podcast.
I'm just a very excited man. This is Oh God, let's not go down this road. Let's not go down this road. Anyway,
Well,
if
you
you,
have two people from that podcast on here, Joe. It kind of comes with the territory.
I'm going to.
Oh.
By the way, you guys, why don't you plug your show right now?
Yeah, speaking of podcasts, we host an automotive podcast that Joe's been on more times than he's not, called Top Dead Centered. It's me and Eichel over here, and you may remember James from the what was that episode? Everyday Carry, was it called Everyday Carry? Whatever.
Yeah.
It was a couple of weeks ago. It talked about knives and stuff. Great guy. The three of us have a lot of fun. We have occasional guests in, interesting people, regular people, extraordinary people. It doesn't matter. If you enjoy cars, you enjoy talking about it. We like to have you on the show, and we just talk about our normal things. We're all admins of a Facebook group called Obscure Cars for Sale, and it's basically how we met and where we got the basic idea from. We talk about our projects. Mike just had a really cool road trip. I bought a disaster of a pickup truck. James is constantly working on a Volvo because that's what you do with a Volvo. And,
He
you
thinks
can...
it's really reliable, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't understand. Why do you think it's so reliable?
We host our podcast through shoutengine.com, where you can start your own podcast for free in under 5 minutes, which it literally took me probably about 35 seconds to set up our account, because that particular day my modem decided to work. And it's really easy to host off there, and we've got 17 episodes in, and I mean, I'm having a great time. Eichel, are you having a great time with it too?
I am having a great time with it.
The thing I really like about your guys' show specifically is you guys all can work on cars, and there's too many car podcasts out there with people that don't really work on cars. So I feel like when I go to you guys and listen, it's something that is you're offering up a different perspective, and then also just listening to your show, it feels like you've been doing the show for a lot longer than the show is been alive. So it's a really, I mean, you guys do an awesome job. And they actually, their last episode, they have the editor of jalopnik.com, right? Is that who it's?
Well, a writer for Jalopnik.
Yeah, he's a writer. He's not the editor.
Okay, he's a high ranking writer. He's all over the place. It's Tavarish.
Tavarish, yeah. Freddie Hernandez.
Yeah. So I've read all these articles, and then all of a sudden I'm hearing his voice on your show. You guys have just expanded so much. I love having you guys in Shout Engine, first of all, but and then also being able to be on the show. Thanks a bunch for that. So go check that out if you like car stuff, and start your own podcast for free in under 5 minutes. So let's get to the main topic, guys.
Yeah, what do we come here to talk about?
We came here to talk about the worst mistakes I've ever made in my life. No, we came here to talk about the best.
Too dark. Anyway.
It's cold in here, guys. The best driving games ever.
Ever.
I'm going to append ever onto this because I think it just adds extra. So, best driving games ever. There's so many games, starting with pole position all the way to the, I don't know, Assetto Corsa on computer and Forza. There's so many different ways to go. We had to split it apart into different categories. So we picked 3 different categories. We have arcade style, simulation style, and car-based games that are not quite racing. So think like vehicular combat or something like checkpoint games, or maybe like Mario Kart or something, party games. I'm gonna start off here with arcade style, and my favorite arcade style racer is, you guys ready for this? It is Need for Speed Underground 2.
Whoa! That was the first game I ever had for Nintendo DS, and it was also
really?
the last because I didn't have a Nintendo DS for that long.
It was also the last because I hated that thing. You're an asshole. Aww.
I enjoyed how every car in that game had the same available body kits, so you could like have the 4 fog lights and everything.
Yeah, that was like
look as ricey as possible, or Fast and the Furious style if you want.
Well, I think that's what makes me like the game so much, because when that game came out, it was in the heyday of the early Fast and the Furious movies, probably between Fast and Furious 1 and 2, and
Something like that.
It hit a chord. It was just the right game at the right time for me. I know it's not the best game out there, but man, it has a great soundtrack, and they had so many different modes. They have drift mode and the racing mode. But the thing that always sells me on car games is the customization.
Yeah.
And I like how they had the kind of like factory body kit that you could throw on every car, because it's like, oh, I just went to Pep Boys and I got the body kit for my car. It's gonna take a little bit, but I'll figure it out.
I need stickers, 200 horsepower worth.
That'll be for $40. Okay, Andy. So that's my pick for the arcade racer. There's so many different modes, and the other thing is there's so many different cars to choose from too. It was just all-encompassing fun as an arcade game. There was a couple other ones that came close, but I want to see what you guys also have to say with this arcade section.
When I go arcade, I think Cruis'n USA on Nintendo 64.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
choice.
Even though that, especially looking back at it now, all the retro gaming is definitely cool now, and you look at it, and it's like, yeah, this reminds me so much of like 1995, whatever. But looking at it when I played it, it may have been garbage, but it was like the first foray into automotive gaming that I had,
Right.
and I really, really enjoyed it. And the thing that stuck with me throughout pretty much my entire life was, oh yeah, this freaking annoying guy in the soundtrack.
Yeah, every time you hear like a little clip of it, though, it just transports you back to childhood. A Blazers33X in the chat room says
Blazers know
USA.
what's up.
Yeah, he's all about it. He was gonna say that one too. If you want to get to the live chat room, you can. JustCoolEnough.com/live, or you can send us an email. The email address is theshow@justcooleenough.com. Again, the email address is theshow@justcooleenough.com. What are your favorite racing games? I want to know. I want to know these things. So, Cruis'n USA was a really fun game. It was like a checkpoint game, and I think on N64 it was more fun because when you actually went to an arcade, you would just dump so much coin into this game. It was
My parents were on a bowling league back then because that's what you do when you live in the middle of nowhere in the 90s, apparently. And the arcade in the bowling alley had like 6 games, and one of them was Cruis'n USA, and they'd just be like, all right, we're going to be bowling for like the next 3 hours, and it's like, all right, I'll be funneling quarters into Cruis'n USA. Definitely worth it.
So Cruis'n USA was my go-to game until there was my go-to game in the arcade setting, like you're talking about, like at the bowling leagues, until Rush 2049.
Oh, you took it from me.
Oh no, I'm
You took
so
it from
sorry,
me.
Eichel.
That's okay.
This is totally my style to screw over Ike, so this works. Ike, please talk about it. Please talk about it.
Well, okay. I actually was on a trip with my 8th grade class, our Washington, D.C. trip. And we ended up in the mall in Washington, D.C. I don't remember the name of the mall. And I discovered San Francisco Rush. And I saw that, because most arcade games actually they just had a brake and a gas pedal. But San Francisco Rush had a clutch pedal. And I was like, an arcade game with a true manual transmission. I spent the next 4 hours and the rest of the 50, like I had the dinner money that I had for that night, which was our last night, I spent it playing San Francisco Rush for like 4 hours.
That is so cool. Oh my gosh. And the other thing that was really great about that game, and I don't remember any of the Cruis'n USA games having it, but it had force feedback too. And it was the first game I really remember force feedback really punching you in the guts, really getting at you. You're like, oh man, I'm going to make this turn. And that was pre us being able to drive vehicles, right? So this was our real experience, really pushing a digital car to its limits and using a clutch. And even though I would know I was doing it very badly looking back at it now, it didn't matter because it was still shifty.
So that's what that pedal did. I would just move the thing and wonder why it didn't work.
Oh, I can remember a kid like, that's the power pedal. I'm like, you're an idiot. I learned how to drive a clutch on an Isuzu truck when I was like 7 years old, and I'm looking at this kid like, you don't know clutches, you don't know anything. Go back to your hole in Idaho.
Seriously? You learned manual on an Isuzu truck?
I did. My
So did I.
Did you really?
Yes, a 92 Isuzu pickup.
Okay, no. My Isuzu was hold on, let me figure out what model. It was like an Isuzu NPR nowadays. Do you know what
Oh, a box truck.
The
I
elf.
learned to drive a
Yeah,
manual
the
on
elf.
a box truck. It was a diesel, and it made this awesome clattery noise. And my uncle owns a bakery, and my mom worked the nights over there. My dad worked the days, so I would go over there after school, and I would drive the high-low around and load things into the back of these trucks. Load the bread that's going to get delivered the next morning in the back of the trucks off the forklift, and then pull the trucks around. And I'm like 7 or 8 years old, just having a good time. And they were sitting with me for a while, and then eventually they just let me drive the trucks around. Like, don't take it out of the parking lot. I'm like, okay. Just, that was fun, good time. But yeah, San Francisco Rush. Oh my gosh, man,
Yeah.
I think it even holds a softer spot in my heart than Cruis'n USA, because Cruis'n USA was fun, but I think San Francisco Rush had a little bit more of that simulation aspect to it, even though it really wasn't. You could change your views, you could shift, force
Were
feedback.
there
Wheel would break your wrist when you hit a wall.
were there shortcuts in Cruis'n USA?
I think so. Oh, I don't know.
Because I know that there were shortcuts in San Francisco Rush.
See, I don't know that because I didn't play it for 4 hours in Washington. I didn't know about one of those games. I thought that was a more obscure game. That was the only reason I mentioned it. I didn't realize it was a colossal hit.
I mean, we're the obscure
Well,
card people.
Right.
You're right. Who am I talking to? I'm an idiot. Of
Yeah.
course. Where's other Eric and other? They
Mike
wouldn't know it.
Mike has Driver 1 on a mini disc, playing it on a game console you can only get in Idaho in 1991. That's you can't beat him.
Driver was a really fun game.
That was my first computer game, the original Driver.
Original Driver for the PC.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Do you remember the driving test you had to do at the start of that game?
Oh yeah, I remember failing it many times too because I couldn't figure out, because it was weird because the other computer games that I had played, the turning was the left and right arrow, and in Driver it wasn't. I couldn't figure out what it was, so I just drive forward and hit the wall, drive back and hit the wall, and drive forward, hit the wall, and the car would be totaled, and I'd be like, all right. You can do a burnout and a handbrake, and you can't do the reverse 180 or a slalom or anything else like that.
Oh my gosh.
It was a fun game for me because my father at the time had a silver 71 Monte Carlo, and that's like the car that you drive when you're in San Francisco.
That is really cool. That's really, really cool. I loved the Driver franchise, and I can remember getting Driver 2 for Christmas and calling up my friend at Christmas morning and being like, "Did you get Driver 2? Did you?" He's like, "Yeah, I got Driver 2 also." And then we agreed that we wouldn't come over each other's houses to see anything else because we just both wanted to play Driver 2. Like, hey, we're still friends and everything, but
Don't talk to me for the next 3 weeks.
yeah, don't talk to me for at least for a little while, for like the next half of winter break, because I just need to play Driver alone for a while.
No spoilers.
Oh, yeah. So
Before that was a thing.
yeah, right.
True OG right here, everybody. I'm
Wow,
looking at my microphone like it's the camera.
yes, where the people see you from. So the next thing, Driver's kind of a simulation. I know I used to play it that way. I would be like, I would be telling myself, I'm going to follow all the rules. I'm going to stop at traffic lights and go when the traffic lights turn green. But the cops would still come after you, so it didn't matter.
That's when you were bored.
You've played it for far too long when you start looking at the shadows and you're trying to think, is he carrying guns? Maybe you could shoot. You try hitting all the buttons to see if you can shoot. Anyway, simulation style games, guys. This is a whole other topic because I think simulation style games have came a long way since the very beginning.
Yes, they have.
I can remember playing Ridge Racer and these like Colin McRae.
Oh, I'm gonna blow your guys' minds.
Oh my gosh! So those were like the start of simulation games, but Eichel. I really want.
I'm like chomping at the bit here.
I really want to call you Michael, but I know like because that's your name, and I don't. But I like calling you Eichel because it just feels more right on this show in this context. So Eichel, what do you have here for simulation style gaming? Blow our minds.
One my first one of my first games for the Sega Genesis was The Duel
Wow.
Test Drive 2.
Oh yeah.
You had three cars. You had the Porsche 959, you had the Ferrari F40, and you had the Lamborghini Diablo. That's it. Those are the only cars you could drive.
Oh my gosh, and you got it. You just linked a picture into our chat room, and that's
Mhm.
justcoolenough.com/live. I'm looking at a picture of these graphics where you're
Oh
seated
gosh.
in the vehicle. You're seated in the vehicle, and it has your gear. Tell us more
Well,
about
and
this.
like this is what I loved about this game was like obviously the graphics are terrible because I mean it's just that old, but it actually the speedometer's in kilometers as you can see.
JDM.
Bro.
And you can see the gear shift, which shows you that the Ferrari F40 has a dogleg first gear.
That's true to
See it?
life.
And up in the upper left-hand corner is a radar detector, so you know when the police are nearby.
What? I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, you would get chased by the police in that game.
See, and I always thought Need for Speed Hot Pursuit was the police chasing game. I didn't realize that they were
Yeah.
predated by
Oh
the
yeah.
Duel Test Drive
The
2.
Duel Test Drive 2.
I think Test Drive 5 was the only test drive that I ever played.
I loved Test Drive 5.
That
I
was
loved
my favorite part of Test Drive 5 was um, if you won a race in Sydney using a certain car, and I forget what car it was, you'd unlock the Ford Mustang Hot Rod. And that thing was like stupid faster than anything else, and it handled way too well for being what it was. But
I'm watching gameplay footage that you linked in the chat room of Evolution and History of Test Drive 1987 through 2011. I didn't even realize
justcoolenough.com/live.
I didn't even realize that it was around for this long.
Yes.
If I knew this game was out in my early days of computing, I would have just scrounged and begged to get this because I'm watching it now and I desperately want to play it, and I know it's just an analog steering. I know, but it has the stats and just
Mhm.
what a slice of car culture and gaming culture at
Yes.
the same time. I really am enjoying watching this video, and I can't. You are blowing my mind, Michael. This is great.
See, my,
Oh,
my favorite simulation game isn't as historic as some of these picks, but
historic.
I actually chose, and even though pretty much every game in this series has been fantastic, and they just keep getting better and better every time they release a new one, Forza Motorsport 4 has to be my favorite of the bunch, purely because it just felt right. Like I played, I bought an Xbox for the purpose of playing Forza Motorsport 4, and since 5 and 6 have come out, Horizon 1, Horizon 2, I'm real excited for Horizon 3, and I went back and played 3. And going through all of them, I think 4 just had the right setup between the variety of cars and the variety of environments and the feedback you could get. I mean, newer ones are probably a little bit better in the tuning, and they have obviously newer vehicles that have come out, and a lot of them have bigger car lists. But to me, 4 was just that perfect mix of here's everything you want to do, and here's all the places you can do it.
So I think Forza 4 was kind of that was the turning point where for me Forza was a serious Gran Turismo competitor beyond just okay, we're on the Xbox where Gran Turismo isn't. It came alive because that was Forza Motorsport 4, right? That's what we're
Yes.
talking about.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that one was it was a really what was your starter car when you started that game?
I went with the GTI. And I went with the GTI because the starter cars in that game were what I call slim pickings. They're not things that I was a fan of.
I see. This is one thing. So on my list is I picked two for simulation, but did anybody put Gran Turismo on there?
Well, Mike
Nobody.
didn't edit his list.
Oh, I don't see it there. Oh, okay. It's a typical. This is just like Ike to do this.
Yeah, you're fitting
I
in
will blame it on
well.
Ike.
I mean, I'm trying to get the Eric move down, how he like moves around a lot when he talks and stuff. So like,
You're doing really good. You just gotta be. The thing is with you, Eric, you're a little too confident. Can you just pull it back just a little bit when you're speaking?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No,
There you go. Yeah. No, no, no. Anyway, there's so many simulation games that I think were high watermarks, but I have to agree. I think Forza 4 was one of those games that made you play for a really long time. But, and I probably would have kept it on my list here. I think for actual simulation, like you're going to a race track, Project Cars has the Forza series beat if you're using a wheel and pedal combination. You guys with me with that? Do you guys understand like what
I
it?
understand what you mean by that.
Okay, because
Mm.
with a controller, my mind has been totally blown how well Forza 6 plays with a controller. And also, I am a fan of the Xbox One controller, especially if you compare it to the Xbox 360 controller, which was trash compared to the Xbox One controller. There's just a level of fit and finish on the controller that lets you really modulate your brake and your acceleration on Forza 6 that Project Cars does not have on the controller on PlayStation, or unless you're using a pedal. Project Cars is the best with a pedal. Forza 6 is the best with a controller. I can't pick. They're so good, but Project Cars allows you to have a race weekend where you get out there and you practice and you put fuel in your car and you're adjusting every little thing on the car, dampening spring rates and how much boost, everything. The only thing that they don't have a giant car list. That kind of sucks for Project Cars. So I've been comparing these two in my head, as you can tell, trying to figure out what one's better. But I wanted to like leave it up to you guys. And
I'm too much of a whore for a giant car list,
yeah, see,
and that's what excited to today. I read that Forza Horizon 3 has the biggest car list of any Forza Horizon so far. So I think they said something like 350,
oh man,
and one of them was a Polaris Razor. Like, all right, ATVs, we're going off roading now.
350
So,
cars, that's it?
well, that's what.
I mean, yeah, it could be
says the
Gran.
Gran Turismo elitist over here.
Yeah, it could be Gran Turismo 6, where you have 600 cars and 450 of them are different iterations of the Honda Civic.
Well,
Or
I
Nissan
think
Skyline.
I was gonna say Gran Turismo 2 has to be on the list, at least as an honorable mention, as a simulation driving game, because Gran Turismo was a unbelievable game for its time, but I think Gran Turismo 2 added the level of tuning, somewhat in customization, but definitely in the amount of cars that you
By
had to pick from.
by the
And
time I was
some of the
done with by the time I was done with Gran Turismo 1, I had 10 million credits. No codes, no cheating. Just playing over and over again. By the time I was done with Gran Turismo 2, I had 40 million credits. No codes, no cheating. And remember, Gran Turismo 2 came out prematurely. Remember? Because they were trying to get it out by the Christmas season,
Yep, I
whatever year it
remember.
was released, and
Gosh.
it wasn't finished. So it was buggy. And people were having problems with their garages getting deleted.
Oh
Do you
my
remember
gosh.
that?
I don't because I don't know, I wasn't paying attention as
Well,
hard.
like
That was a bug that happened.
yes, I had my garage get deleted on Gran Turismo 2.
Oh, I would have went nuts.
I could remember
I
this.
just went and got it back all over again.
Oh my gosh, man! I remember
Yeah.
this totally happened to me where I lost my garage in Gran Turismo 2
Mhm.
after probably 2 or 3 weeks of playing, and I was very disappointed. And actually, after that, I
I was
didn't
more
play it for.
disappointed.
Oh yeah, no.
I was like raging, like throwing my controller, all kinds of stuff.
Well, do you remember in the original Gran Turismo getting, or any of them really, getting your driver's license, your race license?
Oh yes. Oh
So
yeah.
I didn't have a memory card for the longest time, and eventually someone would turn off the PlayStation, and that would always cause a big fight.
Right.
And but I got really good at getting the Class A and international driver's license. Not this again.
That just
So
sounds like too much nonsense for me to deal with. I mean, just put me in a car and put me on the track. It's the same thing in real life. Just throw me on the track. I don't care what it has.
well, I just don't think like you. It's expensive. It's cheaper to buy a PlayStation. Less wear and
Right.
tear on the brakes. I think the whole Gran Turismo series for a while was the best, but there's so many options out there now, depending on how you're going to play the game, that there's an option out there that is better for you than the Gran Turismo. I'm trying to be objective because I'm a huge Gran Turismo fanboy, and it pains me to say that. But after playing Forza 6, especially the rain mode they have, and playing it with a controller, which most of the people play with a controller, I think that offers the best simulation experience with a controller.
Mhm.
You the amount of control you get with oversteer and understeer and being able to flick the car in just the right direction is
Yeah.
unbelievable with just the controller. I think they did a
Mhm.
tremendous job. And
The
I'm not just saying that because people I know have been sponsored by this
the
or
well, I
networks.
haven't been sponsored by anybody, and I don't own a PlayStation, so I don't play Gran Turismo very often. But I have played it, and I enjoy Forza more.
Mhm.
One of the main
Yeah.
reasons that I list all the time is because I like having cars with complete interiors, even though that doesn't make a single difference when it comes to the racing of the game. But
Oh, that's another really good thing with Project Cars on the simulation side. You can get helmet mode, so you're in a helmet looking out, and it's really cool. It muffles the sound around you. You feel like you're in the car, and I really want a VR headset to put on and have the wheel and be in helmet mode and look around and race my Caterham
and buy
7 around a track. I don't
buy a
know.
racing seat out of the Summit catalog and mount it into your bedroom too.
I have.
I know people have done it, so
I if I ever get a house again, that is the first project. Before clearing out brush, before redoing woodwork, before new kitchen, I'm buying a racing seat and a VR setup so I can play Project Cars. We'll see if that actually happens. Um, so the next category we have for best driving game ever is car-based games that are not quite racing games. What do you guys have on your list for this one? Eric, we'll start with you since that's tradition. As is tradition.
how fancy. I go with Grand Theft Auto 5.
Oh, that makes sense. It has auto
There,
in the name.
there's a lot of in 5 there is a lot of customization options. There's a lot of cars to be added, and you can own a lot of them. There's a lot of garage space in the game now too, so you can buy different properties and have different garages and outfit your cars with different parts. And there's a lot of customization to some of them. Some of them there's only a little bit. I think there's only like one or two where the only thing you can do is basically change the color. But it's cool because there's actually a community of like people who do car shows and car photography in the game, like real life, but in the game. It's
Mhm.
It's kind of
interesting
nuts
to me.
because Grand Theft Auto made a pretty legit racing game within their game.
Yeah,
There's pretty good physics and the cars all have really good weight to them
I
and
mean the physics have to be better in Grand Theft Auto 4. I remember one time we were playing online in Grand Theft Auto 4 and I was freaking drifting a fire truck like it was nothing. Like this doesn't happen.
it's
It's
pretty
not wet
cool
outside.
when it does though. When you see the fire truck flying around the turn and somebody's shooting a machine gun out of the side of it and squirting water and just it's just great. It's that's how you know you're having a good time. Ike Eichel, I'm sorry. What do you think?
My okay, my choice for the best one of those games is probably the worst. Anyone who's played it will know this, but it's my choice anyway.
This is your time.
It is my time. Streets of Sim City.
Oh my god.
That's all for tonight. Goodbye.
You're kidding me.
It was an awful game, but
Well,
I
you
spent
just-
nearly as much time playing that as I did Gran Turismo, the early
Oh my
Gran
god.
Turismos.
So both of those, well, that do you just like games with bugs in them?
Well, here's the funny thing: is like I was playing that game on a computer that technically couldn't handle it.
Oh, jeez.
So
Did you only see like 3 feet in front of you?
like that was a funny thing is like it seems like with that game because I've tried to play it like just about like 5 years ago, like just for some nostalgia, I went and got it off of eBay and tried to play it on a newer PC, thinking it would be better, and it actually crashed more than it did when I had it on the computer that technically couldn't handle it
So
for some strange reason.
You know, I think that you have a fixation with interiors while you're driving. I think that because that game also allows you to sit in the
Yes.
interior of the car, and they all had really
Yes.
unique speedometers, and they all had, I mean, some of them had, you can do weapons in that. There was battling, right?
Yes.
Streets of Sim City. That's so bizarre because you are the, I mean, not only obscure cars, but
Sadist.
sadist
Yeah.
and obscure games too. That's great. That is a really good pick. I did not see that coming at all. Totally out of left field. Really good pick.
Well,
Freaking.
really a terrible pick, but
Yeah,
it's my pick nonetheless.
it is
It's the
yeah,
best pick at being a disaster.
Yeah. I mean,
And you have to play the song that I linked in the live section
okay.
because that song will bring back so many memories
Okay, so it
from
is
playing that game.
A special link for the live listeners only. Ooh.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm hearing the music now. That's I wanted that game to be so good. So
And it
good.
was so bad.
You know who does a really good? I have a plug coming up for this. I didn't have it ready. I'm gonna plug it anyway because it's so good. My pick. Oh man, we gotta wrap it up here. We got 3 minutes to go here.
Yeah,
My
wow.
pick for the best
boy, okay.
car-based game. Yeah, that was quick. My pick for best car-based game. That's not quite a racing game. Is Twisted Metal 2. It was one of those flagship games that sold the PlayStation console for me, and Twisted Metal 2 had so many different cars and areas to pick from, really good cheats, and I mean, it's Twisted Metal. It's car-based combat. What's more fun than that? I mean, nothing. Nothing is. If you think of something that's more fun, tell me, and I'll tell you you're wrong.
Pokemon Go.
Oh. I still have put a lot more time into Grand Metal 2, Twisted Metal 2. So Twisted Metal 2 is my pick, but we got to start wrapping this up, you know?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
time that we stop talking about all this racing bullshit and start plugging each other.
All right. Oh, you're doing so well. It's so
So, I've listened to a few episodes. In the show notes, I didn't understand what plugs meant at the first time, so I just wrote probably 3-prong. But
Oh my God.
I'd like to plug a random blog I follow on Tumblr. It is yousuredolovecock.tumblr.com.
No,
It's
it's
about
not.
birds, I swear.
You son of a bitch, you come on my show and you plug something like that. It's about birds.
It's about birds, and they're cute. They're tiny. And then, if you're interested in this dumb stuff that I care about, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at NeedsFuelPump.
There you go. My plug for this week is actually, they're both video game related. Mark Brown does an excellent series called Game Maker's Toolkit. Go check that out. It'll be in the show notes and on justcoolenough.com. Game Maker's Toolkit, I might have already plugged it once, but my other plug that is pertinent to what Eichel was talking about is Lazy Game Reviews, Streets of SimCity. So LGR is a great channel, and if you guys are in the video game communities at all, the guy's awesome. So go check out Lazy Game Reviews, LGR. Streets of SimCity review, so you can understand why I was slack-jawed when Ike Cole told me this pick. So, Ike, what is your pick for this week?
For what, a blog to plug?
I don't know, whatever you want to plug.
Whatever you want to
Okay.
plug.
You can find me.
He's
I
plugging
am.
himself.
Oh, wow.
Sure, why not? I am. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at. I will put my own personal ones out there. I am at turbo_moose on Twitter and Instagram, and I also run a website called boostednews.com.
So go check Ike, or you can call him by his real name, Michael. Go check him out, boostednews.com. Make sure you guys go check out the Driving While Awesome Wait, no, that's the wrong one. Make sure
It's not the one where.
Make sure
Even though one of the guys from that podcast would probably dig my truck, I should contact.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
We
sure.
talk about D21s all the time, so I should.
Bro, yeah, it's bro. Anyway, so go check out.
That's rad, dude.
That's rad, dude. Yeah. Oh, the Callie Talkman, the Driving While Awesome Podcast. Go check out Top Dead Centered podcast. It is probably the most fun you could have with car podcasts. I mean, it's the most fun I have with car podcasts. I look forward to it every week, and I've only been let down a little bit by it, and that was mainly when I was on the show. So
It's your own fault.
yeah, it's my own fault. You could follow me on Instagram at JoeQCar.
Interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
Yeah, that's
usually Eric says something here, but I'm gonna bring back the troll you later.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't say go fuck yourself or something like that.
Nah, I actually like you.
Thanks for listening, everybody.